would be underpinned by the early launch of specific projects in developing countries to be financed by the Fast Start funding. On a less upbeat note, the EU is very concerned at the growing imbalance between the two tracks, as I mentioned. There I need to say that we will not accept an unbalanced agreement, and one more thing. We can of course not accept that the only thing we can agree in Cancun would be on finance, and then all other things would be left for later. That's not the kind of deals that can be made this year, definitely not. So everybody will have to contribute their fair share to a global agreement, and that is also what we say when we say it has to be balanced. Even a developing country, also not an emerging country, but a developing country, they will have to do the best to their ability. That is what is in the notion of common but differentiated, and that will have to be reflected in whatever comes out of Cancun. The fact is that the United States and the major emerging economies must play their full part if the world is to have a chance of preventing dangerous climate change. By 2020, it's said that China will emit 30% of all emissions in the world. Needless to say, we cannot address this without China. And unless and until they do so, EU cannot and will not sign up to a second commitment period under Kyoto. I want to be very clear about this. All this is not to say that Cancun cannot still deliver the solid and balanced package of decisions we need, but basically we only have 6 days of negotiations before we meet in Cancun, so time is very, very short. The last preparatory session in Shenzhen in China early next month needs above all to achieve consensus on what the Cancun outcome should be, and then make rapid progress towards preparing the individual decisions that will make up the package. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, allow me finally to take this opportunity also to update you on the climate action we are taking in Europe, very briefly. First of all, we are well on course to meet or even comfortably overachieve the collective 8% reduction that we took on in Kyoto. We just had a new report out. Compared to 1990, we have reduced emissions in Europe with 17%. Even if you from that deduct the crisis years, then still the trend is very, very clear. And in the same period, our economy grew by 40%.